Direct Employers webinar. We're glad you can attend. There's 3 keys to using your membership for compliance. And before we begin, we have a couple of housekeeping tips. If you are having WebEx issues, Casey at Direct Employers will be happy to assist. And you can see her email right here. Also, if you're having trouble with the audio broadcast on your computer, you can also call in by phone. So just click the Request Phone button on the event panel. And Casey's here to assist anyone who's having problems. To the large attendance on today's webinar, all of the participants will be muted, but questions can be asked using the Q&A, and we really hope that if you have any questions or follow-up, please use that box to submit your questions. Chat section also of the WebEx is available, so please send your question to all panelists. Questions should be read aloud and answered at the end of this session, and then any of the webinars and slides will be recorded and available on the pipeline, and that is a social community for members only. If you don't have access at this point, here is the URL. You can go and sign up and then be able to view the webinar. Last but not least, #DE chat to tweet during the event for good content information. So here we go.
Everyone, thank you for attending today's webinar. As everyone knows, Direct Employers is a member-owned and managed consortium of talent acquisition and OFCCP compliance professionals. We cultivate labor market efficiencies and reduce online recruitment costs for employers. So the purpose of today's webinar is to address Direct Employers' products and services from the standpoint of compliance and specifically how our platform assists members in an OFCCP audit. You'll also see some lesser-known benefits to membership and how to apply those to your company. What you'll demonstrated is the commitment we have to our members through the development of top-tier compliance products and partnerships that truly assist our members in audits, unlike any other provider. We are committed to fostering a deeper discussion into compliance and recruitment, which ultimately leads to the betterment not only of our members, but the HR industry as a whole. One note, this webinar is not to be construed as legal advice. This is strictly Direct Employers' products and services and how they would apply and how you can use them in a compliance audit. Presenters today are me, Jen Bernhardt. I'm one of the Regional Vice Presidents of Membership Development, and I have been with Direct Employers for 4.5 years. The other presenter is Deanne Faller, another Regional VP of Membership Development, and she has been with Direct Employers for 8.5 years.
Which assists members for OFCCP compliance and outreach will be covered in today's webinar. Consists of beverage job listing, partnerships and audit support, and outreach and documentation. So this webinar is not about the regulations themselves, but how Direct Employers assist, audits, and offers products and services to over 840 federal contractors. So our slide, to understand why Direct Employers outreach is critical to our members, we need to really start with the technology that's been created by the association. So Direct Employers updates all job listings from the members' ATS on a nightly basis. This is automated and taken right off of your plate. So therefore, recruiters do not have to unpost positions or update. Whatever is posted today and whatever is removed is reflected in that night's indexing. We automate syndication of your jobs to 4 different sources. Starting at the left is our Jobs Network, which includes over 14,000 unique URLs or different sites, which include occupational groups, cities, states, and specialty sites. And one of the specialty sites, for example, is our Veterans Crosswalk, veterans.jobs. Nightly update XML feed is also provided to our Job Alliance partners, ensuring 100% of your openings are syndicated to our thousands of sites. Employers partner strategically with diversity, disability, military, and federal sites, so all of your jobs can be seen across a wide network. Right-hand side of the screen, Direct Employers automatically again updates each night all of our members' jobs on the state job banks, And then finally, we ensure all new job listings are delivered to the appropriate ESDS office closest to where the job is located. So that's Central are able to document and confirm all listings for federal contractors should you ever be audited by the OFCCP.
Key to compliance is understanding the VEVR job listings, and specifically the deliverable and support that Direct Employers Association provides exclusively to members. So we'll start out with some of the following questions. What are the regulations? How do they apply to DE's products and services? Leverage of all of that, and how do you know when to leverage all of that? So start when speaking to all of my members and prospective members is first addressing language from the regulations. To understand how our product works, it helps to understand the actual language of the regulations. And you can see here that the regulations say listing employment openings with the state workforce agency job bank or with the local employment service delivery system where the opening occurs will satisfy the requirement to list the jobs with the appropriate employment service delivery system or ESDS. As a side note here, I've actually searched the regulations looking for the word posting, and posting is not used anywhere in the Equal Opportunity Clause in regards to the VEVR mandatory listing requirements. In fact, it's only used in regards to the posting of the EO poster within your brick-and-mortar location. So listing encompasses a much broader spectrum of delivery mechanisms than just simply posting into a state job bank.
So Jenna just talked about on the previous slide, the OFCCP VEVR regulations do not state post. And that posting comes as some federal contractors do and can post to the state job bank. But rather states list because there's different formats which are permitted by each of the states. This is important in understanding how and why direct employers for the VEVR listing requirements deliver your new job listings instead of posting. Sometimes I've had some members who are in audits that, reflect and say we post jobs. Well, as a direct employer member, we do not post to the state job banks for compliance purposes. We actually list, and here are the permitted formats for the VEVR mandatory listing requirements. So as you see here, we're able to email the listings. We can fax the listings. As a matter of fact, in 2007, when some of us were here, we mostly faxed a lot of the listing to the state job banks. Now you will hardly see faxing. You will mainly see email. Also can certify each of the listings or provide them in an electronic format. So partnerships with the states ensure that you, the federal contractor, are listing correctly for the listing requirements in the manner that's permitted by each of the states. Positions need to be listed. We included this because, as you know, full-time on-site jobs need to be listed. But in the last year, I've had a lot of discussion with my members. What about temp to hire? About virtual jobs? With virtual positions, a lot of times the OFCCP indicates that those jobs must be listed where the hiring managers are located. As Jen noted, please contact your counsel or person in charge to see where virtual jobs should be listed. Also, I've had a couple of conversations with my accounting and oil and gas members who have internships and campus positions twice a year. With this member, I connect with them and we're sure to list each of those positions at any location where an intern can be located. I also have been in touch with those that have campus locations because we need to ensure outreach to protected veterans even for these type of positions. So if you have any questions regarding these positions, locations, and when they need to be delivered, please feel free to contact your member development rep, and they can give you suggestions that you can confirm with your counsel.
And I think also important to note here that Candy Chambers, our VP of Compliance, is actually instrumental in getting an FAQ written about where to list your virtual jobs. I believe this FAQ came out about a year, maybe 18 months ago, and prior to that, the OCCP wasn't aware that there were virtual jobs, didn't realize that that was becoming a bigger part of the workforce. And so we've been able to get that addressed with the OCCP and provide some guidance reach out to your membership development representative or your membership team. I'm happy to point you in the direction of that FAQ.
Yep. So just as a note, positions that need to be listed have multiple locations, and these are very different than the virtual jobs. These are designated in the ATS and loaded on or available on the job description. So what employers is able to create is what we call ghost requisitions. The jobs are delivered to the correct city and state location where the job can be located. So for example, one of the examples is maybe you have Chicago, Illinois, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Direct employers assist in getting that job and delivering to both locations. Another example I had was a company in New Jersey who was posting the job to their corporate location because they were not sure what facility the individual was going to be employed. They had maybe 3 or 4 facilities where after the initial application they would assign that individual to. Well, OFCCP stated that the job must be listed in every city and state location, even though the candidate could be located in a different area. So just check again, ensure that each of your jobs are going to every location the job can be listed in.
A primary part of the VEVRA mandatory listing requirements is identifying what is an ESDS, an Employment Service Delivery System, and you can see the 6 different options listed there. The center or office is going to qualify as an ESDS, so when you list that job so that it counts for compliance, it's going to be a center that was established in accordance with the Wagner-Peiser Act of 1933, added by the Workforce Investment Act of 1998. There are more than 3,600 of these centers across the country, and through our partnerships, we have been able to identify all 3,600 plus, and we list your jobs appropriately. Now, from time to time, I do get this question from my members, and an excellent example is here actually at Direct Employers. There are unemployment offices there who do not receive government funds. This means that if we are going to list your jobs, our primary focus for listing and for reporting purposes is going to be on identifying the Wagner-Peiser funded centers. It means that you cannot interact with any of those other unemployment offices for outreach. It just means that for listing purposes, we are going to focus on those receiving Wagner-Peiser funds. On the second floor of the office building where Direct Employers is located is a non-Wagner-Peiser funded unemployment office. Would be opportunity for outreach for any of the federal contractors located around our office in the Indianapolis area, but it does not mean that we're not going to list your jobs there for compliance, nor are we going to report on it within our reporting. We're also happy to add these folks to the distribution list should you want them to be, and should be open to that. We need their contact information and authorization to add them to the central job listings. So to kind of expand a little bit more on why we focus on listings so much, is to quickly discuss why posting isn't required. So mention the Wagner-Peiser funded ESDSs. In order for an ESDS to receive government funds through the Wagner-Peiser Act, these ESDSs must serve all employers in search for qualified workforce. The next step is that they must be capable of making the jobs of receiving those jobs in a variety of ways, and also making them available to protected veterans in a variety of ways. Additionally, the reason that posting isn't required and that listing is the true option is because each ESDS has a completely separate posting system if you were to use that, meaning a separate set of log information and of time and money that it would take to create and maintain all of that login information. I don't know if any of you have done that. It would be astronomical. Thus, finally, the OCP understands this and has allowed for a much broader term of listing. Remember, and this is what spoke so greatly to me when reading through the demystifying posting versus listing for the OCP's mandatory job listing requirements, is that the OCCP had the opportunity to require posting, but they did not. They listing in the regulations. And so again, that is what Direct Employers does. We list your jobs, so we deliver your jobs so they're listed at the appropriate ESDS in accordance with those Wagner-Peiser, or with those VEVRA mandatory listing requirements. All of that being said, this all rolls up into that Vet Center report, which is what you will need to show proof of your listing in accordance with the VEVRA mandatory listing requirement. All of the centers on here are identified as Wagner-Peiser-funded centers. Questions about this report, please reach out to your membership team. We can show how to pull it, where to pull it, or we can just pull the report for you. Additionally, as of March 24th, 2014, there were some additional required notifications that now need to be on all jobs listed on the veteran regulations. Namely, or first and foremost, that you identify yourself as a VEVRA federal contractor and that you request priority protected veteran referrals. Now, you notice the first item in this matrix talks about a blanket EOE statement that spells out veterans and disabled. Most federal contractors have already taken care of this on their job listing on their ATS. We just kind of do double duty by also appending it for you. And then you must also provide contact information for the hiring official responsible for doing hiring in each state. So these were the requirements. Here's how direct employers chose to handle that. The initial knee-jerk reaction of a lot of my members, our members really, was I don't have time to do this, and I don't want to provide direct contact information for a recruiter that could fall into the hands of a job seeker. So we met with Patricia Hsu, Deborah Carno, 11 of the OSCCP at the Washington, D.C. offices in January of 2014 and proposed what you see on your screen, electronically appending this information to all of the job listings on Vet Central, as opposed to letting our member companies manually transmit this information. The method of transmitting this information electronically, appending it on our listings, has gone on to be identified as the accepted method, and as opposed to a data dump, which is what happens when you continually email or fax or certified mail these notifications. We'll talk in our next section about our relationship with the states of NASWA, but they were instrumental in kind of backing our solution because they also said that the states don't necessarily have time to accept all of this information and employ it that should be employed. A couple of reasons why. One, this is a federal regulation, and these are folks down at the state level that are charged with accepting this and filing it. And most notifications, they were coming in manually, were actually being thrown away, so they weren't being used like how they should. So this way, the information is appended or electronically appended to each job listing. It is available for the state to use if they want, and they don't have to do extra work to accept that information and file it and even maintain it, because as your contact information changes, you would need to update, whatever you're sending to the state. Now, what about that email address? That's a redirect system that we use. So probably that alphanumeric email address up there, that will direct back into an email address that our members have given to us, so they can then reach back out to the state and answer any questions that they may have about that particular job. Any requests for information that come through the system, consider these hot leads. Everyone is charged with doing additional community-based outreach to attract protected veterans to their jobs. And you have a local veteran representative email you for information. That is just a great opportunity to document and record that conversation. Ultimately, so that falls, into storing that information so you can prove that you outreach for an audit.
Now we're going to talk about the state outreach that direct employers has to the state job bank. Through your membership, and previously, as Jen has stated, all of your VEVRA listing requirements are at that local level, notifying the vets or disabled vet reps. You have jobs open within the area. The state job bank reporting acts as a nice-to-have, because it actually shows further outreach and commitment to the vets and disabled vet reps by the state job banks. What we do, again, on a nightly basis, we provide each of the state job banks with an updated XML so they can download that directly into the site. So Direct Employers also has, and you may not know, is the state job bank reports that are provided by the states on the member's desktop. And if you're ever in an audit and you'd like to show additional outreach, you'd like to connect that to where people are clicking on your jobs at the state job banks, you're able to pull those reports, available 24/7 7, anytime that you'd like to look at the reports. And they, again, just ensure that your jobs are getting everywhere in the face of veterans and disabled veterans.
The partnerships and the audit support that Direct Employers Association has secured in order to provide next-level OFCCP audit support to our members.
NASWA, and I just want to take a minute because I think a lot of our members don't know how important our relationship is with NASWA and who even NASWA is. So it is the National Association of State Workforce Agencies. So clients, in listing your jobs when you're talking about the state workforce agencies, these are the top administrators for each of those states. And it's founded actually in the depths of the Great Depression. So in the early years of unemployment insurance and employment services programs during that time period, NASWA organized. So it includes state administrators of unemployment insurance laws, employment services, which again are offered for federal contractors, training programs, unemployment statistics, and labor market information. So you can see throughout its 75-year history, NASWA is here to strengthen the workforce system, information exchange, liaison, and advocacy, as we're going to talk about. Now, how does NASWA help? What does it do for Direct Employers Association? Well, one way is in our interaction with NASWA, they act as a unified voice of the states. So those on committees or those we have questions with, through NASWA partnership, we're able to have an easy communication with them. Also, when the OFCCP issues new regulations for federal contractors to follow, it does put an extra burden, as you know, on your current processes. And what happens is this results in an extra burden on the states also. So you as a federal contractor feel it on your end with any new regulations, but so do the states, and that's why NASWA is so important. Also, while Direct Employers has this partnership, we're also able to advocate for our members. So the states require a voice to comment on regulations and why these requirements may be putting an undue hardship on the current processes. But this is also where NASWA comes in. It's imperative to their commenting and interactive process with the OFCCP. So again, as a member company, you have a connection not only with the states and NASWA, but also a pipeline to what the OFCCP is about. Out here, because of Direct Employers Association with NASWA, therefore the states, we are able to offer OFCCP support for the mandatory listing requirements. Direct Employers has worked very hard since 2007. We have had an official relationship with NASWA that provides unprecedented support in OFCCP audits for the listing requirements. This official agreement now extends through 2027, so our members can be assured of this partnership and support in the future.
A relationship that we have secured, and this has been secured through our relationship with NASWA, are signed agreements with each of the 50 states, Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, and Guam. Who are the states? Well, as I mentioned before, those are several key players. The Wagner-Peiser-funded state workforce agencies or career one-stop centers, employment staff, any of the DVOPs and the LVARs, all roll into that state system that we work with, and we have partnered with officially through our relationship with NASWA. This helps primarily because these signed agreements and this relationship ensures the receipt and, most importantly, the acknowledgement of those job transmissions through Direct Employers and Vet Central. We are recognized as a preferred vendor of vetted and verified job content. So NASWA has helped secure those signed agreements with the states, and that is a separate, albeit tied-in relationship with NASWA, and additional support that we can offer to our members in the event of an OFCCP audit.
Now comes the National Labor Exchange Partnership, and a lot of times we're aware that this partnership can be a bit confusing, but hopefully now that we've gone over NASWA and what it does with the states, and know Direct Employers Association This is how this partnership or exchange was created. What do the National Labor Exchange provides states with non-duplicate job openings? So again, updated on a weekly basis directly into the state banks by US.gov feeds. Direct employers utilizes and ensure the states a vigorous job verification process. So all the jobs are vetted that are on in the US.jobs feed to make sure there's no spam, there's no duplication. So what this does, it allows all of you leading U.S. companies to avoid posting your jobs manually into those state job banks. We leverage the NASWA partnership and the state relationships. If you have any questions, if you're wanting to reach out to the states, or if you're in an audit, please call your membership development team or your membership development point of contact. We are the starting place if you have any questions or if you have a question from the auditor. Because beginning with us, what we'll do is our membership team will call or confer with Vice President of Compliance, Ken Chambers, contacting NASWA and letting them know what is the point of contention in the delivery and how does our members need help for this audit. And there what happens is NASWA determines and, like I said, has verified how your listings are getting to the states. So there are a number of ways that NASWA can also assist. They can call the auditor in the state, we've had letters written, or all of this discussion is with our member companies on how best to resolve your listing requirements. So we're very skilled at this type of interaction, and we've been conducting this since 2007. So the first point is to call your membership team if you have a question.
A couple pieces to your compliance toolbox, so to speak. Ask to our subject matter experts. You've heard us talk about them time and again. John C. Fox of Fox Van Morgan, really considered one of the foremost experts on the OFCCP regulations. He exclusively works with direct employers and provides educational webinars and content for our members. He's Morgan, owner of Morgan Consulting, hired from the OFCCP after more than 26 years of service. She also exclusively works with direct employers. She's the other side of the desk from you folks. And Lee Chambers, our VP of Compliance, who did affirmative action planning at 2 prior member companies, who has sat in your chair. So if you ever need to reach out to us, please do so. Send us questions. We will loop them in, and if they are unable to answer the question, then they will let you know, or they will point you to a resource where you can find the answer. Additionally, Candy has worked on putting together a compliance advisory board, which effects may not be felt directly on our members, but again, this is another example of what we are trying to do to better the HR industry as a whole from a compliance perspective. Get top officials from top affirmative action companies together to discuss the regulations as they come out and as they change. Of course, the Federal Contractor Corner on directemployers.org. There's just a host of OFCCP resources that you can use. And if you need direction on how to get there, again, reach out to your membership team and we can help. We also have a member exclusive. This is from John Fox, and it's called the OFCCP List, where he's literally broken out major components of the OFCCP regulations and how to comply with those regulations. This document is an incredible resource to our members. Please reach out to your membership team if you need a copy, and we can send you to where you need to in order to get a copy of that to use in your organization.
The key is outreach and documentation, and this is definitely one of the areas with membership now that I get a lot of comments and questions. A lot of these are, how do federal contractors know that they're doing the correct type of outreach? How does direct employers assist with this outreach? You know, what do you have that I can use? This is required by federal contractors. In other words, they're always calling and saying, help, we need help. You know, what can you do to assist us with new regulations and outreach? One of the key points, and you can see that here, is that technology is not outreach. So the new Section 503 and BEVA regulations, OFCCP is looking for results. So it would be the 7% utilization goal for individuals with disabilities and the 7% hiring benchmark for protected veterans. So as you can see here, the key to this is building relationships. It does not focus on posting jobs, syndicating jobs, or anything to do with outreach, which does not require communication. It also can't be done by a third party, but needs to be done by the federal contractor itself. So the litmus test, and this is a real easy one, if you're audited by the OFCCP, and the partner told the you told the OFCCP that you were partnering with an organization and contacted them, would they recognize your name, your company name, and see if that partnership was established? So again, the key is building relationships. Technology is not outreach. So action is the point here.
There's really three buckets that you can pull hires from, and the first one are any of the direct employer syndicated partners, as far as the jobs that we put in those different 1,000 plus sites, and qualified candidates and or hires that you would get from that syndication. A second bucket to consider would be virtual and in-person career fairs and events. This is a step further down the path, and a lot of times when I talk with my members, they say, well, gosh, I haven't done any sort of outreach. When we start digging in a little bit deeper, we find out that they have done career fairs and events. That's good. That's a step in the direction. But remember, your focus needs to be on that third bucket, building relationships with local community-based organizations in the areas where you have jobs. Let me be clear, buckets 1 and 2 cannot exist on their own, but it doesn't mean that you can't use those roles to run to the 7% hiring benchmark for protected veterans and the 7% utilization goal for individuals with disabilities. You do need to focus, though, on those relationships that you have with those local community-based organizations. So to start with the syndicated partner list, again, you can pull qualified hires from here. If you are getting folks that are coming in from these different diversity sites and they self-identify, and you can tie them back to a site. You can pull all of that information in. You can use the direct traffic report to sources of candidates and where they're coming from, or job seekers and where they're coming from. An excellent way to track that job seeker through applicant tracking system is using source for tracking code, which helps you get a little bit more data as far as where that job seeker is coming from, maybe on their demographics and whatnot.
So that we've talked about is virtual and in-person career fairs. And they are a great way to meet specialty type of connections or candidates. On the OFCCP webinars prior to the March 24th and 2014 deadline, the OFCCP proposed different ideas and suggestions for outreach. And one of those was the virtual and in-person career or job fairs that were on the list, maybe one in affirmative action plan a year. There are a number of opportunities here, and we are also here to assist. So if you're looking to reach out to candidates through a career fair, sometimes through direct employers, we have virtual career fairs. Our compliance team is here to help to make suggestions for your candidate outreach. Also, I get questions all the time. Where do you find partnerships? Again, what should we do? Where do we start, basically? So where we start, or where we started on this slide, is the OFCCP Employer Resource Directory. So within the EERD, we have thousands of organizations, or they do, that you can begin with. So you can put in a city and state location, you can put type of outreach that you want, and they will give you a listing of partnerships. Now, some of my members have said, well, we don't think any of these partners would be good resources for the type of jobs we have. In particular, I have biotech companies or, highly skilled individuals. So what I tell them is within that directory is contact information. So pick one of the partnerships, call them. Tell them, what you're hiring for, and see if they have any suggestions within that city and state location for follow-up what you're looking for. And you will be amazed if you go to Google and Google outreach for individuals with disability in Indianapolis, Indiana, you get pages of different types of outreaches, whether it includes, a community-based organization. It can also be a national organization who has many different local outreaches. So Google is an excellent place to start finding partnerships for outreach. And then finally, referrals. And I want to focus in as far as referrals also to our Job Alliance partners. Direct employers, as you know, have a list that's available anytime of our partnerships with different sites and outreaches. It is a great way to start also. If you need contact information, you can let your membership development person know, what type of organization, and we'll be happy to get that information to you. This is another bullet point, or I guess a light bulb moment. Direct employers partners also present webinars to our members, as some of you know, probably close to a month or every other month. They provide their contact information for their organization. And these are companies who are willing and want to assist members in partnering and outreach. I know that we had an Easter Seals webinar, and the person doing the presentation gave her personal contact information. And all of a sudden, her voicemail was filled the day after her presentation with members asking questions. Some of that came from just finding out that Easter Seals not only focuses on individuals with disabilities, but also outreach for veterans. So one of my members, they formed a great partnership on a national level, since they're a national company. But what it allows them to do with Easter Seals is also focus on those locations that they have nationwide. So reaching out nationally, but also able to focus on a local level.
Outreach requirements were first proposed in the Veteran Section 503 regulations. Direct employers actually attempted to offer our signed partnerships as a means of compliance, all of those groups that we work with. And the OFCCP was emphatic in their stance that the federal contractor must do this outreach on their own. So we couldn't transfer our relationships to our member companies. So our next best option when we put our heads together was to offer a documentation mechanism, and that's the partner relationship, or PRM. You see a lot of communication from us on this lately because we've added a user management piece to this. This is such an incredibly important tool, allows you to track the outreach that you're doing. As always, because of our status as a nonprofit, and this is the case with every single report mechanism that we have, unlimited users, access, and training are included. So if you have not engaged this platform yet, please do so, especially if you're not using anything else. Now, if you're using something else, that's fine. You don't have to use the PRM. This is just something that's included in membership as you document it. As mentioned before, the OFCCP is moving from a stance of just trying is good enough to now we need to see results. And results can best be measured when documentation can be reviewed. So if you're not doing anything, you started but you haven't documented, let's talk about this today. I have some members who say, well, we've done, probably half a dozen career fairs in 2015, but there's no documentation. We need to get that law because you have something documented to show that you're making an effort, you're trying to get out in the community and get these qualified individuals with disabilities and protected veterans into your positions.
Our final and most important light bulb moment comes from, again, stating that good faith efforts are not acceptable when being audited as a form of partnership and outreach for the new VEVRA and Section 503. Relationships absolutely need to be built and tracked for effectiveness. And again, like I said, or Jen stated, this is not any legal advice, but look at your affirmative action plans. Look at the goals and use them as a roadmap to designate specific outreach for the OFCCP if they come asking during an OFCCP audit. So as you can see, good faith efforts actually, are in addition to the partnerships that the OFCCP is looking for.
So to summarize, we've addressed three separate keys, obviously, how to apply your membership to an OFCCP audit. We discussed the VEVRA job listings, which encompass the permitted formats, qualifying ESDS locations, and the VEVRA info tags. We've even further so that you can see that when we built and launched our platform in 2007, We built it to fit the regulations. We have not taken the regulations and manipulated it to fit our product. This is a tried and true resource and platform that has been out there since '07 and supported our members in audit.
Now, partnerships and audit support. We really hope that during this presentation you see how this really differentiates direct employers from any other vendor. A partnership with NASWA and the states absolutely ensures you, as a member, your job listings are being delivered per the OFCCP regulations. And in addition, the audit support from the states if there's any questions from the auditors. So our compliance experts, again including Vice President of Compliance Candy Chambers, is here to assist. But again, contact your member services or your member development rep, and we'll be happy to get the process started.
And lastly, we dove a little deeper into the outreach and documentation, and this is, I venture to say, one of the most important parts of the new regulations coming out because it's so new for federal contractors. We folks haven't been required to do this before, so we tried to give you some ideas. We touched on what is, from what we understand, being accepted, what is, from what we understand, not being accepted. But please reach out to us. Your membership team is happy to go through any different points from this presentation, brainstorm ways to find partners. And again, if you've got questions and we need to loop any of our subject matter experts in on your questions, we are happy to do so. That's what they're here for, and that's a benefit to membership that we hope that you'll start to use in 2016. So a couple of questions. First question was, what is a virtual job?
A virtual job, as I was talking about, is a job that you have posted on your ATS without a location. So virtual positions, they can basically be located anywhere. One of my members is a hotel. They now have work at home reservationist, or I have a communication company where they do a lot of their customer service. So part of it is identifying through the virtual jobs where hiring managers are located for that specific occupational group. So for instance, in my communication company, we identified about 20 hiring officials that we list the jobs with for OFCCP compliance and the listing requirements.
Into the second question. Sorry, hold on. Let me scroll back up. We had another question come in. Sorry, the second question was, when you aren't certain where the jobs will be, how is it best to list? Example, you are filling 20 sales positions across the country. So again, contact your membership development representative, but this is going to be identifying where your hiring location is, where that hiring manager is sitting, and that's where we will list those jobs for compliance. We can walk you through all those different options that are out there. Another question, when creating reports, I only see the option to create a CSV Excel spreadsheet. Is there any other way to create a more attractive looking PDF version of the outreach efforts? This would be within the PRM, I'm assuming. It's the only way to download your reports. And this is actually a benefit to you because depending on the columns you use to generate those reports, you may be downloading more information than what is needed to the OFCCP. I'm going to kind of quote Candy Chambers on this. She's a big proponent of not giving the OFCCP more than exactly what they ask for. So by using an Excel spreadsheet, you take out some of the columns that are there, maybe some of the information that doesn't need to be there if when you originally generated the report you had that added in there. And then within your Excel spreadsheet, there should be a way to save that as a PDF. You can add shading to the different rows, different columns, what have you, make it look a little bit prettier. So maybe loop in somebody in your office to show you how you save it as a PDF, but that capability, I would guess, would be there within your Microsoft Office application. But that's how you would go from getting an Excel spreadsheet to a PDF. Okay, so another question. I'll read it. What military-specific sites are jobs being fed to through the Direct Employers Association feed?
Well, on Job Alliance list, all of the military-specific sites are listed. There is a direct link that you can actually bookmark and at any time get the most updated list available. Now, that not only goes to military sites, but to our diversity, disability, federal outreach too. So if you don't know the link or you don't know how to get the PDF and updates, again, please contact your member services rep.
I remember reading that EEO taglines must be understood by protected vets and individuals with disabilities. How is this assessed and enforced? So basically, and this is how we have addressed it and how you see that simple EEO tagline that we have out there, veterans and disability must be spelled out. That's how you accommodate that particular part of the regulations. Now, an FAQ, if I remember correctly, within the OFCCP regs that address this specifically. So reach out to your membership development representative and we can send you to that specific FAQ, but that's how, to my understanding, we have interpreted this, understood it, and how we kind of put that extra EEO tagline out there.
And one of the things, too, the EEO tagline has been there since direct employers, or even before, it was mandated by the OFCCP in March 24, 2014. So that's why we have that on there to ensure that it is understood by each and every veteran or individuals with disabilities. So, and you know, sometimes at the beginning there was a frame around the EEO statement or tagline, so we've just opted to keep that in there, and you can see where it's spelled out on each of the listings.
Looks to be the end of our questions. I have anything else specifically, you can see our contact information up there, jen@directemployers.org and deanne@directemployers.org, or you can tweet to us. We are happy to get those questions answered. If you're not sure who your membership development representative is, email one of the two of us or info@directemployers.org, and we will put you in contact with your membership development rep so we can get you up to speed on any of the. One final question came in. How can I get John Fox's punch list? Reach out to membership development rep and we will send it out to you. That is not something that is available to anybody unless you are a member company. So you have to contact one of us in order for us to get that to you, and we'll give you directions on how to do that. So again, Deanne@, or info@directemployers.org, one of those three email addresses, or tweet us, and we will get you the answer that you're looking for.
We'll get your attendance today, taking the time to learn more about direct employers and the outreach for OFCCP. But not to belabor the point again, we're all here to assist for any type of questions that you may have. So thank you very much and have an awesome day.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.